SALEM Studies, and today we have Curt Saunders, director and writer of Sparrow, um, the film. So let's get right into it. Like, it was a great process to see you behind the camera, more so in the direction space. I'm curious, how did the idea come to life of Sparrow? And if you just want to like even touch on the name a bit.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. Well, before even getting to the point of working with Samara Joy, I want to say around late 2018, I had an idea for a short film based on the song "His Eyes on the Sparrow," which is a gospel hymn that I grew up hearing in church, and it's pretty well known. It's in the movie Sister Act. A young Lauryn Hill sings it. So the concept, I remember like I think I watched the movie If Beale Street Could Talk, and I was just so inspired by that movie, just the way it made me feel. And I went home and however, I have no idea how this idea just came out, but I just wrote it down like I want to see a film where this song is just heavily featured. And I literally never looked at it again. It's in an account I don't even use anymore. But um the opportunity to work with Samara Joy came up through you actually, and saying that she was connected to your social media, and her being a Bronx native and you having Bronx narratives, like there was a connection there that was being made. So we, started talking about the idea to pitch to her. And we were thinking about doing photos, and I was just curious about like what if we could also get a chance to hear her singing. I thought that would have been incredible. And as we were researching her, we found out that and not even just finding out, like I think it's pretty apparent in the way she sings and her heritage that she has roots in the church, and roots in gospel. So that was something that I found interesting, just relating to that. I know you relate to that as well, just being a church kid. So um yeah, I thought that was an interesting angle to explore. So just kind of it just came to mind to think about this song again, Sparrow and His Eyes on the Sparrow. And I looked back at that idea, and the idea I had originally didn't fit this, but I was like, it would be interesting to hear her sing it. And it I didn't we didn't know until we were actually filming the significance of the song to her and her father, which was incredible to find out real time on set. Like that was the first song she ever sang for her father. So that was just like a sign from the divine. Like it was just like kind of like meant to be. Like this was the song, this was the concept, like it was supposed to be this. So yeah, it was a lot of pieces that took a long time, but a short amount of time at the same time. So it was really interesting in that way.
Hmm. Yeah, I've always known of Samara Joy, and knowing that she followed us on Instagram and Bronx Narratives. I think it was like the origin of when we began thinking about Salem and some of the notable people that we could get to be a part of it. I remember just thinking like, yo, would we have enough time? And you were like, yeah, like let's just see. And then we did it and was able to get the church and all these different elements. So
Yeah,
uh, shouts to courage.
yeah.
Uh, but on Instagram, you mentioned Sparrows in many ways is the culmination of your entire life thus far. Can you elaborate on what that song means to you? I know you touched on it a bit ago about the 2018, but just like what that song means to you.
Yeah. Well, the song itself, when I think about, I mean, lyrically, it's just a very like encouraging song, but I remember I have vivid memories of being in church as a child, and that song would be sung with or without music, but as long as you had like a really strong vocalist to deliver it, it would set the church on fire, especially that, I know that real like when you start to get so the lyrics are and in general, like, I've been in a space where I've been thinking about gospel hymns a lot and just the significance of the lyrics and what they mean to people, especially people, older than us, like our elders. And they always say, like, these songs mean more when you get older. And sometimes you just don't even realize, like, how much they mean to you, or how much significance or meaning they could have. But even beyond that, Sparrow, just the creation of this piece, like as a body of work, I would say is the culmination of my entire life thus far because again, growing up in that church background, with my parents both being involved in music, my dad played guitar, my mom sang in the choir, and I was just like very just musically curious as a kid, and I would soak all these experiences in, like that moment of this song being sung. So having like many years of this just seeping into my subconscious and like moving towards like my teenagers where I began playing music myself, and then also like moving as I get older, becoming an image maker with photography, and then through that meeting you, meeting Hector, and then eventually, ended up at a fellowship at Spotify where I would meet Kareem and Ty, who ended up being our cinematographers. So when I think about all these pieces that like work together to make this thing happen, it was like is like more than my mind can really contain. But yeah, it was just like really fulfilling and rewarding. And even just the depict the relationship between Samara and her father, just thinking about just like getting, my sort of like musical curiosity and inclination from my parents. It just felt like I as much as I wasn't trying to put myself into the story as I was coming up with this concept, I couldn't help but see parts of my own life mirrored in it. So yeah, I had a lot of full circle moments when I realized like, wow, this is really kind of a heavier moment that's bigger than just me or my name. It's a lot of little moments that led here. So grateful for it.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm curious because you touched on musical curiosity. Did you and your parents ever like jam together in the house? Like your dad
Mm.
on bass, your mom singing, you on keys, kind of thing.
Well, that's a good question, actually. So my dad used to sing and play guitar a lot in the home. My parents would sing together a lot. Um, I don't think I ever so my father passed away when I was 11, so I don't think I got a chance to play with them all together, but my dad showed me he would give me basically he would take me to music lessons at first, and I actually didn't really quite catch on. I was he took me to or got me piano lessons, and it was cool, but I just felt like I didn't really connect with it until I remember I believe it was a Christmas day where he showed me how to play like very basic chords on a keyboard. And later when I became I got curious to like learn music by ear. I just took what he taught me and what I remembered from that moment and figured out how to play pretty much from that point on. But um I can't say it's ever happened where the three of us have all jammed together. Unless I did used to like make a lot of noise. Like I used to love the drums when I was a kid, so I used to probably like beat on pots and pans and stuff. So maybe then. So but I have no vivid memory of that for sure. Yeah.
Gotta
Yeah.
check the archival tapes. Maybe it was something.
It's probably something in there. Yeah.
Yeah, something could turn into a little MP3, a little sample. You touched on it earlier with Samara Joy and her dad. What was that experience working with them?
Yeah. Um well, first of all, it was great. Like I don't think we had the confirmation that her dad would actually be there until maybe the day before we shot. Um, but it was so powerful to have him there as well because I think you get so much story from his presence alone, right? You get like the idea of like he has basically, subconsciously or intentionally deposited a lot of, musical talent in her as well. So that moment to see them sing together is just really powerful. And then, for someone who's not familiar with either of them, they get to see like, oh wow, Samara's a beautiful singer. But then here comes Dad, and he's an amazing singer too. So it's like working with them on set, I don't think it could have been any smoother. Like I think they were both just really open to the things that we had to share. And I mean, even from like day one, Samara was like very, very cooperative and very open and very open to our input and ideas. And then on set, just to see their dynamic together, they were figuring out parts and like how to sing it and all these things that like it was just beautiful to just witness them together, like even when we weren't recording. Like it was so great. And like and then just hearing them sing together is in that empty church is just like super soul stirring. Like I remember going through all the different takes and I'm like, how am I gonna choose? Like it doesn't it's just gonna be like a hard challenge because they just sounded so amazing. Like you could choose anyone in the dark and it'll be great. So I'm really grateful to both of them for how they showed up. Not just showing up, but how they showed up. They were definitely like really trusting in us and very, very kind and very patient and very cooperative. So very appreciative to both Samara and Antonio.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I remember being on set hearing it. It just was unbelievable. Sounded
Yeah.
like they just did a couple MP3 versions of it. But what was the most challenging part of producing and making Sparrow, would you say?
Mm, that's a good question. I think for me, like I had never directed anything before. So I think that especially to that scale, I mean, had been mostly doing photography and, I've been on set for, other folks' projects and like, helping you with for a moment in time. And, our cinematographers, Kareem and Ty, when I would work with them at work, I would get a lot of experience, just from being on set and sort of like watching, but to actually be you know, in the director's seat was a challenge, and it actually took me a while to own and get, feel confident, fully confident in. But I would say believing that not only that like I could get it done, but also just trusting that like everyone who was with us, like the entire team, there was just no way we could go wrong with, you know, Salem, with our Kareem and Ty, with our cinematographers, with the beautiful set we had on the church, and the talent, Samara and Antonio. I just felt like with all these elements, ain't no way we lose, So I think, um, yeah, just allowing myself to sort of get out of my head and just be confident in the work we put into the concept, and also, the talent we had all around, I think was what put me at ease.
What did you want people to walk away after watching Sparrow um, to feel? I mean, that's your like you mentioned, it's your first thing that you directed. A
Mm,
lot went into it. It's a very notable talent, Grammy Award winner.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what when you were on set and then even in post production, is there a specific feeling that you wanted someone to feel about
Mm.
your work?
Mm. Yeah, I would say this is a layered question for me because there's always an intention behind, anything that I want to work on, but I'd say some of it goes beyond me, and so it's like a phrase I tell myself is get in the way to get out of the way, right? So what I mean by that is get in the way in the sense of being open to the opportunity to work and like put my best foot forward and, be prepared for this opportunity, but get out of the way, meaning that, I always, I believe in God, and I always believe that there is more that God can do than I can do. So I as eventually essentially I really just want people to feel God in all my work, and I felt like this was just like something that I I wanted I wanted that was consistent for this project as well. Like I think beyond just saying like, oh, Samara's a beautiful singer and so was her dad, I just want them to feel I wanted people's souls to feel stirred. I wanted to have people have that same feeling that I would get or I would see people get, in church back in the day when they would sing this song. So um even deeper than just the actual physical elements, just the song or the people that singing it or the people making it. I wanted people to feel stirred and encouraged and I think that's what the song is about too, right? It's about feeling encouraged and remembering that there's something greater that can help and support. So that's what I wanted people to feel ultimately. And yeah, hopefully that message is conveyed.
Yeah. I mean, any footnotes, I mean, definitely was conveyed, but any footnotes that you wanted to share that maybe I didn't, touch on?
Um I yeah, I kind of don't know where this will fit, but I did want to like talk about some of the shots in the film because they were definitely very intentional. So I think the main one of the main shot this yeah one of the main shots that we see her Samara singing in the beginning, her solo verse, where you get sort of like the left side of her profile. That shot, I called it the Aretha shot. So it's directly inspired from Aretha Franklin's Amazing Grace. If anyone has seen that film, it's a beautiful film and sort of so a lot of that feeling that you'd see in a film like that is a lot of what I'm trying to what I was thinking about and preparing for Sparrow. Like if you watch that film, there it's a you can feel the heat in that church. You can feel like it's crowded, it's packed, and Aretha's just singing her heart out. And heritage was just a huge idea, and it was something that when we were conceptualizing, that's something you brought in for sure from the very beginning. Just honoring Samara's heritage as a musician. So we were going back and forth and bringing in images of different musicians that Samara might you know, be inspired by or like have, akin to. So we thought about Aretha Franklin, um, even, a newer artist like Solange. So there's a shot where she's singing, and it's a direct shot that's like zooming in close to her. I call that the Solange shot, which was inspired by an image of Solange, with her singing also in a church. Um, and then the my personal favorite shot, which would be the shot against the stained glass with both Samara and Antonio. Um, that is what I would call the Mahalia shot, which is a Mahalia Jackson reference we had in our like treatment. It's Mahalia Jackson singing in front of this stained glass window. And so we really wanted a church with stained glass window, and this one was just so perfect that like we couldn't help but film in front of it. And I kind of like intentionally slash subconsciously, it all kind of matched exactly what we had put into the treatment. So like um yeah, it felt good to really execute the vision from all aspects, and the photography, like your photography, played a huge part in that as well. So it was yeah, I'm really proud of it because it was just from seed to fruit, it was really kind of everything that, in my opinion, that we hoped it could be. So yeah, it took a lot of preparation and a lot of care, but I think people have responded really well to it. So hopefully that's something that we can continue to keep doing.
Yeah. I think I think we're on the right, tone and setting the stage properly with the first two and obviously hopefully more productions that we're looking to do moving forward.
Yeah.
Um, but I really appreciate the time that you took out to give more of a synopsis of the background work that you were doing. And thank you for listening and watching Salem Studies.
Peace.